Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Closer Look, the show dedicated to bringing you the facts. We ask the questions no one else will, and we get the answers that no one else can. I'm Arabina Apia. Thanks so much for joining us. From nationhood and our national identity, our special Independence series has been a journey of reflection and introspection. And tonight, we turn our attention to the voices that will carry the nation forward. If we are serious about our national development, then we must recognize that our future is not and cannot be solely determined by the choices made by those who came before us, but rather by the collective vision of the next generation as well. Through candid conversations, insightful reflections, and unfiltered discussions, we seek to understand the vision, aspirations, and concerns that shape the worldview of our youth. Tonight, A Closer Look creates a safe space for their voices to be amplified, their ideas heard, and their potential celebrated. Tonight, Deputy Prime Minister Chester Cooper will also weigh in on our conversation and bring us the government's perspective on shaping the future for a new generation. But first, when we return, our conversation begins with the head of the Division of Youth and the role that the ministry is playing in helping create pathways for Bahamian excellence. Stay tuned.
I believe that the way young people can contribute to the idea of one nation as well as the growth of the Bahamas is by being more active in society and being more knowledgeable, aware, and involved in our communities. Our youth need to bring about and inspire social changes in each other and in themselves.
Welcome back. You're watching A Closer Look. I'm Arabina Apia. Thank you so much for tuning in. Joining me now for the first part of our future-focused Independence episode is a woman who is quite literally the spark that gets the fire going, especially when it comes to inspiring young people. Please welcome to the show, Director of Youth, Ms. Santina Neely.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited every time I get to talk to you because you live in close proximity to the actual future of the nation, young people. In your opinion, what are some of maybe the most difficult and challenging things that Bahamian youth are facing, and how are you, in your role as Director of Youth, helping them navigate those difficulties?
So some of the difficulties that our young people are facing are connecting the dots. So, they would have been in the safety net of the system of education and with their parents. Our demographic for young people is 16 to 29. So they are now out of that safety net. They're trying to make their way in the world. And so we want to help them to become successful in these transitions. And that's not always easy. So they're not sure if they want to be an entrepreneur. They're not sure if they want to do tertiary education, if they want to get into the working world. What is it that they want to do? How do they see themselves? How do they see their alignment with their purpose? And so we seek to mentor them, we seek to counsel them, we seek to guide them, and most of all, we seek to provide opportunities so that they can become as successful as possible.
Yeah, so let's talk about opportunities, because you do hear many young people say that, they don't necessarily feel like there's a place for them. They can't actually connect the dots, as you put it. So what opportunities are available to them with the assistance of the Ministry of Youth?
So as the premier youth development agency in the country, which is how we hold ourselves out and we want young people to view us, we offer opportunities for a diverse grouping of young people. We provide the Youth Leader Certification Program, our Job Ready program, our Fresh Start program, our Be Inspired program. We also have opportunities for youth ambassadors who can travel the world and interface with other young people. So wherever you find yourself, we are able to place you in this ministry.
I love that. So from the sort of policy perspective, what sort of things are happening to really help channel young people at an even earlier age into the sort of fold of the Ministry of Youth?
So we stand on a foundation over 3 decades of working on a draft national youth policy. And as our minister would have indicated in the recent budget debate, we are so excited that this policy is now going to be tabled in Parliament. We can look for it in October of this year. And this National Youth Policy creates a framework by which we can deliver youth services to the young people in our country. And so we can look forward to seeing a Bahamas National Youth Commission where all young people will be able to have a stake in what happens and how youth development is meted out in this country. We can also look forward to a Bahamas National Youth Council, or the re-advent of the Bahamas National Youth Council. We also have an endowment trust fund where young people will be able to attract grants so that they can build a center for entrepreneurship. And finally, we have an Institute for Youth Development that will bring a research arm to youth work in this country. One of the main things, one of the main thrusts that we're working on right now is professionalizing youth work. This is not just something that we want people to see as you do this after your 9 to 5. Yeah. We want people to now see the profession of youth work elevated.
That's exciting stuff, especially as we go into 50 years of independence. And I'm excited to hear that, young people are being considered in this way. What role do you think young people should be playing in sort of the decision making when it comes to the creation of these sorts of programs, these initiatives, and what role can they play really?
So we want young people to be at the decision making table. We want young people to be involved. We want them to be engaged at every level of the youth development process. That's how it started for me, from being a youth parliamentarian to being a youth ambassador to then being a part of the National Youth Advisory Council and now working in the ministry. So there's a clear trajectory where you can not just volunteer, but you can also have a stake, as you indicated, in what happens, what decisions are made. But the best way to obtain success is to allow those opportunities to be met with preparation. So we want our young people, and the new talk is, we don't have to get ready, we stay ready.
Stay ready.
So we want them to take that very seriously and to let that transcend and transfer to all of their skills that they're learning, to everything that they're doing in school, everything that they're doing in every sphere. We know that our young people are some of the most creative and resilient young people that we can find anywhere in the face of the earth. We want to have a stake as the premier youth development agency in getting them prepared.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for sharing some of that information. I'm sure that you're going to leave some details with us that we can also share further with young people and with the general public. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
When we return, our esteemed panel of young people join us to tackle some of the issues that are important to them. Stay with us.
I see a Bahamas with education that continues to encourage every Bahamian to explore the possibilities that their births spark. Because every one of us, although individuals, are catalysts for growth and the evolution of our society.
Welcome back. I'm Arabina Apia, and you're watching A Closer Look. Thanks so much for joining us. Today, I'm joined by a diverse and talented group of young Bahamians, young men and women who will hopefully be taking care of me in my old age. Please welcome to the show Mr. Rashad Ritchie, a global youth advocate and lecturer at the University of the Bahamas, Mr. Karajaya Schlagenhoff, who is a hospitality management major at the Guion Institute of Higher Education in Montreux, Switzerland, Cassidy Stewart, Miss Bahamas Teen 2023. She's the deputy head girl and 12th grader at Queens College. Damani Scott, who is an entrepreneur and a 2023 graduate of St. Augustine's College. And Lana Bethel, youth leader, speaker, and assistant port controller of the Port Department of the Bahamas. And of course, we have with us to my left, Miss Santina Neely, who is an attorney, consultant, coach, mentor, and head of the Division of Youth within the Ministry of Youth, Sports, and Culture. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for being here. So we are about to have what I hope is a very spirited conversation about all of the things that are impacting young people. We are about to celebrate 50 years as an independent nation, and I think this is a great opportunity to hear from you guys who are the future of our beautiful country. And I'm interested to hear from you, what do you think the concept of nationhood and the concept of national identity means to young people. I guess I'd start with you, Rashad.
Thank you. Well, young people are very much connected with what it means to be Bahamian. Just being able to celebrate events like Junkanoo, the annual tattoo when we have independence, all of that really just shows how prideful Bahamians are, especially young Bahamians. The ability for a young person to go out in the streets and celebrate Junkanoo for hundreds of years is just so it's so inspiring, because it really shows that young people are happy to be Bahamian, are happy to be here and live here. And I think that one of the things that young people continue to do is share our culture, not only here at home but also abroad when they travel.
How do you think how you guys see the national identity and the idea of nationhood differently from generations past?
I'll
Sure.
jump in right here. I think it's definitely through social media. We look at TikTok and we have so many young people rising up and becoming TikTok famous. And they're just simply posting Bahamian songs, creating dances to it, telling their stories. And so I believe that Bahamians are showing how proud, young Bahamians especially, are showing how proud they are of their culture, definitely through social media.
Absolutely. Sandina, would you agree?
Absolutely. Young Bahamians are some of the most creative, the most diverse of all the generations. And we are always so proud to see the resilience of young Bahamians, how you fight for our country, how you allow your national pride to ring through. And that gives us a great sense of joy, especially here from the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture.
What are some of the challenges that you think young people are facing as they try to navigate life as, Gen Z Bahamians?
I think a lot of young Bahamians, they have challenges within the home. The environment that some of our young, talented and, passionate Bahamians are in can sometimes make them feel like there's no hope. However, I am very pleased and honored to be sitting here today participating in an interview with the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Culture, but in specific, the Division of Youth, because the Division of Youth is a portal here currently standing that is willing and able, and it's their mandate to reach out to those particular children, young minds, and say that there is gateways that you can enter to ensure that you are going to experience a great future. That is what we want as Bahamians. And I think Bahamians, young and old, they only want the Bahamas to remain standing, stronger, better than ever before. And we're celebrating our 50th Golden Jubilee. And I think this is the moment now, if there's never been a moment, this is now the moment and the time for young people to recognize their true and utmost potential and take the Bahamas to the world.
I love that. I love the idea of, standing up for your country. And we have so many issues that obviously young people can throw their support behind. I'm interested to hear from all of you. And Damani, maybe you can jump in as a young person, as an entrepreneur. How are you doing your part to sort of stand up for other young men and women who may want to join the field of entrepreneurship?
Well, I feel as though being an entrepreneur is very tiring. If you don't put your mind to it, then you wouldn't be able to succeed, because not every day you will have a job. Some days you have to sit down and just don't do anything, or just come up with a new idea to be able to keep going in this field. But I am very happy that the government is assisting youths with entrepreneurship. My sister has an egg farm, and the Prime Minister invited her to the opening of the Golden Yolk Foundation. He invited her for the ribbon cutting of the new farm that we have on Gladstone Road. So I feel as though the government is doing a very good job in assisting the youths. And like Karajaya, the Bahamians see young men especially in a negative light. But I feel as though we are getting more into the youth and giving young men opportunities. Like Karajaya, like I said, he gave him an opportunity to be the youth ambassador. So I feel as though coming down 50th independence, we are getting more into the youth in this country.
Oh, Ms. Neely, I think that's an exciting thing to hear. And I know one of the focuses of the Division of Youth is really to reach young people at an even earlier age, right? And get them involved on the pathways that really will lead them to success.
Absolutely. We want to be about bridging the gap So our age demographic is 16 to 29, but we want to make a nexus, create that bridge and that pathway for the younger generation to come in. At the National Youth Awards, we have our Rising Stars. And so we want to tap into the Bahamas Primary School Association and their foundation so that their rising stars can become our rising stars. And so when they are older, they don't see us as, who are they? We want them to say that we've been inculcated and a part of the Division of Youth for years. And so we want to be sure that we extend that bridge.
I'm interested to talk to you guys about the role of technology in the way that young people are navigating their nationhood, their national identity, and what that means for national development. And I also want to talk about, how you feel about the availability of opportunities in terms of job availability, obviously educational availabilities and opportunities. Lana, do you care to comment?
Yeah, yes. Well, I'm one of those young Bahamians that made the decision, to return home after studying for many years in England. So many persons had the question, why are you going to come home? That's so much education. You're not going to find a job. Go abroad, see if you can stay in Europe and find work there. But I understood the importance of coming back home and creating value in my country. I just think it is important for us to remember that this is home. With social media and the engagement with persons from all around the world, sometimes that can have influence on our identity. And sometimes we can think to ourselves, there's no place for us at home in this country. But I'm so glad that, my people, the Bahamian people, took a chance on me. And today I am able to say I'm the youngest assistant port controller at the port department. And so is there a space for you young people? Absolutely. And you need and you should come back home at some point to contribute to this country, to where we go forward from here after 50 years, because you're needed, you're valuable, and we need you.
Cassidy, I want you to have the last word, because I think you're coming out of school. You're a 12th grader. Is that something that you believe? Do you think that home is where you should be sort of sowing your seeds and contributing in a major way, like Lana said?
When more Bahamians begin to come home, the next 50 years of the Bahamas is going to be amazing. I believe that our bright-minded Bahamians, when they come home, are going to transform the Bahamas to take it to where it needs to be. We'll become the number one in sports, the number one in education, the number one in technology and everything. And Bahamians, please come home. This is where God lives.
Wow. Well, that's as good a place as any to end. Thank you guys so much for being here. This has been a really spirited conversation, and I'm so happy that we've been able to give this new generation of Bahamians the platform to really have their voices amplified. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
When we return, our leaders respond, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. So stay tuned.
As a young businessman, I've noticed the significant impact the family and other leaders have had on my values to instilling and developing honesty, boldness, entrepreneurship, trust, and responsibility. I hope in the next 50 years, these values will continue to foster in Bahamians.
Welcome back. So far, we've been talking to young people about their hopes, their dreams, their concerns and aspirations about the future. And joining me now is someone who can potentially be one of the individuals facilitating the environment that will help our young people grow, thrive, and survive. Please welcome to the show the Deputy Prime Minister, Chester Cooper. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure.
So, Minister, we've been talking to young people about, like I said, all of the things that they are deeply concerned about. And we've heard them talk about things like their national identity, their culture, and apparently the emphasis that they feel needs to be placed on youth development. Can you start by telling me, what are some specific initiatives or programs that are currently aimed at enhancing the quality of life for our nation's youth?
Well, let me just say we're fresh off the heels of celebrating our 50th anniversary, which has been a magnificent celebration thanks to Leslie Miller Bryce and her team. This has been a very proud moment for the Bahamas, a proud moment for Bahamians. We've built a country in which we are very, very proud. And I think youth development really ties in very closely to what happens with our country in the next 50 years. The amount of young people participating in the events was extremely refreshing. Yeah. The tattoo, for example, I had occasion to be in Exuma, but I'm told that the vast amount of persons who were in attendance were young people. Yeah. Bahama Games, for example, the last time it happened was in 2001. But back then, it was a magnificent intervention for young people, for camaraderie, bringing peoples together from all of the family islands to participate, to compete, but to do so in a manner that's very healthy. I think these types of initiatives help us to come together, help us to solidify our pride for the future. We must continue to celebrate what it means to be Bahamian, building on our culture and our identity and our national pride.
Absolutely. I know that entrepreneurship is often seen as the sort of pathway to, economic growth, and more and more young people are actually choosing to go into business for themselves. Can you talk about some of the policy positions that this government is taking to ensure that young people see entrepreneurship as a real pathway to success?
Let me tell you that one of the things that has concerned me, this has been a big subject on the mind of a lot of people. They didn't see opportunity. They didn't see innovation. They didn't see jobs, period. But the reality now is that we're encouraging Bahamians to create. We're encouraging them to innovate. And by doing so, we are encouraging them to get into business for themselves. We're doing a lot through the Tourism Development Corporation. We've talked about linkages to tourism for the last 50 years. We're now doing something about it. We're going to have funding through the Tourism Product Development Levy. This is going to create funding to develop more tours, more experiences, more authentically Bahamian products and services. And as a result of these creations, you're going to have more and more young people going into business. We hope that we can turn these micro businesses into small businesses, expand them to medium size, get the medium size to become large, regional, international businesses. I think that is what is going to really shape the economic landscape of our country. So we celebrate independence. Social transformation. We've done a hell of a job over the decades creating institutions like NIB, et cetera, and all those great institutions we've created. Political empowerment. We have that since majority rule, independence, and now we must focus on economic empowerment. True economic empowerment is going to come through entrepreneurship. So we're going to continue to use all of the agencies, not just money, but technical support to help young and not so young people, home-based businesses and businesses with physical location really to thrive. And once we do that, we will start to see that Bahamians are not just job seekers, but job creators.
Okay, well, Minister, before we continue, I'd like you to take a look at a conversation we had with a young man who, is a young entrepreneur himself. He's stepped out. And I want you to take a look at what he said, and then we'll get your response.
Sure.
I am very happy that the government is assisting youths with entrepreneurship. My sister has an egg farm, and the Prime Minister invited her to the opening of the Golden Yoke Foundation. He invited her for the ribbon cutting of the new farm that we have on Gladstone Road. So I feel as though the government is doing a very good job in assisting the youths. And like Karajaya, the Bahamians see young men especially in a negative light. But I feel as though we are getting more into the youth and giving young men opportunities. Like Karajaya, like I said, he gave him an opportunity to be the youth ambassador. So I feel as though coming down 50th independence, we are getting more into the youth in this country.
And Minister, how does that make you feel to hear a young man say he is personally pleased to see the focus that is being placed on specifically young men as a part of our national development strategy?
It's heartwarming, really. It's a manifestation of some of the things that we have put in our blueprint for change. I was delighted to be asked by the Prime Minister to lead that initiative. And now we're seeing many of the initiatives that we laid out in the blueprint for change coming to fruition, whether it's the National Youth Guard, or whether it's spending on small business, or whether it's fixing the learning loss or recovering as a result of some of the damages and time lost as a result of Hurricane Dorian. There's a whole myriad of things, if you look through all of the segments of the blueprint for change, that you see come into fruition. Giving our young people a chance, whether it's expunging records for possession of small amounts of marijuana, whether it's our second chance program, whether it's our rent-to-own program, whether it's entrepreneurship opportunities, or whether it's jobs. We see unemployment down significantly, the lowest it's been since 2005, I believe, or 2006. So we're doing it. I'm delighted to hear the young man say that he and his sister and his colleagues are seeing the programs and benefiting from them.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you so much, Deputy Prime Minister, for being here and for participating in this conversation. I agree with you. The future is very bright. Those young people really have a lot to offer us. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, our conversation continues with the Deputy Prime Minister. After this, we do have our social media segment, so be sure to follow us on all our social media platforms to see the full interview.
So really developing our agricultural industries, our light manufacturing, and really taking ownership of what we consume, I think would be a very good step forward for the Bahamas and a really encouraging future for the next generation of Bahamians.
Tonight, we have witnessed the tenacity of our young people, their unwavering determination, and their invaluable contributions to shaping the nation's path ahead. With these bright minds at the helm, I think it's safe to say that the future of the Bahamas is not lost. These young men and women have challenged our perspectives, ignited our imaginations, and reminded us of the boundless potential that exists right here at home. As we reflect on these conversations, the ideas and the dreams they shared, let us remember that the future is a collaborative endeavor. It requires a collective commitment to nurture, support, and empower our youth as they navigate the challenges and seize the opportunities that lie ahead. I hope that you've enjoyed our series of Independence episodes. This may mark the end of our national reflections for this year, but it marks the beginning of a new chapter in our nation's history. It's my hope that we heed the voices of our youth, for their vision, passion, and resilience will be the driving force that propels us forward to our common loftier goals. Till next time, Bahamas, I'm Arabina Apia. Good night, everyone.